40 kilometers down, 60 more to go. My blistered feet are on fire, and every step is agony. I limp a few paces, stop, and ask myself for the 100th time, why am I putting myself through this? Here I am in Spain, no safety net, no familiar faces, just me, my thoughts, and a backpack that's far too heavy. But when I look up from the haze of my pain and doubt, I am as tall as the windmills in the distance, greeted by lush green hills, wildflowers, and fluffy cumulus clouds. It's breathtaking. And in that moment, I realize what all of this is about. Not long ago, I didn't feel motivated to do anything, let alone go on a very long walk. I'd lay on the couch, feeling the weight of the question, what am I meant to be doing with my life? My inability to come up with a satisfying answer made everything seem pointless. Sitting at home analyzing my life only led to more questions. I didn't need an escape from the chaos. I needed a way through it, a path to the eye of my own hurricane. I needed a challenge, something hard, something I really wanted to do, regardless of what others thought, and something that would force me to confront my deepest fears and desires. That's how I ended up walking 100 kilometers of the Camino Primitvo, an ancient pilgrim route in Spain. It was physically demanding, those rolling hills really got me, and spiritually significant. It had been walked for thousands of years. It was far outside my comfort zone too. When I told my friends I was doing this, some of them cheered me on, and some of them thought I was crazy. I mean, rightfully so. I thought I was crazy. Why would someone with a comfortable life choose blisters, hostels, and solitude? Why would you choose to suffer? That's a question as old as humanity. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca was so wealthy he could have had anything he wanted. Yet he would periodically live off just a crust of bread and water to test his ability to derive pleasure from the bare minimum. He was cultivating his inner strength, a resilience that couldn't be bought. More recently, the academic Elizabeth Larty ran and cycled 1,500 miles across New Zealand in 50 days. She was studying what the Finns call sisu, that deep inner strength that arises when we're pushed beyond our limits. The point is, we humans have a strange tendency to seek out challenge, to put ourselves through a lot of pain. It seems an odd thing to do when life already offers plenty of suffering we don't choose. Thinking of the grief, loss, heartbreak, and everything else I've experienced in my life, I completely understand why Prince Siddhartha left his luxurious life in search of wisdom, to ultimately become the Buddha. So, if pain is part of life, why not choose what we suffer for? Why not pick a challenge, a great adventure that we feel compelled to do no matter how scared we feel? It might not be our grand purpose in life, it might not be what our parents or culture wants us to do, and it might seem completely pointless to others. But if it can reveal to us what we are made of and what we're capable of, isn't it worth doing? When I set off on my adventure, I knew it would get tough, but I didn't foresee it being this tough this soon. An elderly Irish lady kept checking up on me and even lent me some supplies from her first aid kit. She was such a darling, and her kindness and care deeply touched me. Still, I kept thinking how I didn't choose this level of pain, just like I didn't exactly choose to have an existential crisis. When the pain and exhaustion becomes all-consuming, when every step is agony, I could see why people choose to not continue at all. I understand, because I'd been there a few times myself. But limping through that intense pain, surrounded by so much beauty, I realized something that completely shifted my mindset. All this time, I had been torturing myself trying to find my one purpose in life. But life isn't defined by one grand purpose or adventure. It's much, much simpler than that. All that really matters is putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how small the step. It's about how we respond to our suffering, moment by moment, not letting the pain blind you to the beauty that exists around you, and being awed by the paradox that gratitude and suffering can coexist even in the hardest and unlikeliest of moments. Realizing this felt like a huge burden lifting off my shoulders, even as my backpack straps dug into my skin. It didn't magically dissolve my problems. I still had 10 kilometers to go that day and 50 more over the next 3 days. But I found a deeper reserve of strength within me, knowing that what really mattered was putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how small the step. When I finally reached the hostel and collapsed onto the bed, doubts started creeping in. I thought of calling it quits and flying back home the next day. My biggest mistake had been to rush on the first day, so I could get to the hostel and not lose my bed. This was the price I was paying for ignoring all the early warning signs. In life, there are moments we need to move fast. Otherwise, we might miss a good opportunity or lose something meaningful to us. Ironically, the wisest thing you can do in those moments is to slow down. That is, to recognize that there is a space between the thought entering our head and the action we then take. It is in that space we can choose to respond wisely and not in a self-destructive way. That's the second paradox. We need to go slow to go fast, just like the tale of the hare and the tortoise. When I went to bed early that night, I wasn't sure if I'd continue walking the next day. Thankfully, a good night's sleep had helped my blisters heal a bit. So when I set off again in the morning, I made sure that all the blisters and hot spots on my feet were well protected from supplies I'd bought the night before at a local pharmacy. I also planned out my breaks at regular intervals so I could air my feet out, inspect them, and reapply any dressing if needed. When I felt the urge to push on without taking a break, I'd remind myself, go slow to go fast. After all, life isn't all about suffering. It's about stopping for a café con leche and enjoying a slice of cake as well, right? Reaching the Cathedral of Santiago, where the Camino ended, was a bittersweet and surreal experience, despite the rain and wind and me being absolutely soaked. My days alone in nature, wrestling with pain and doubt, had forced me to confront what I'd been avoiding. I realized I was actually ready for my next great adventure in life, which I'd been putting off waiting for the so-called perfect conditions. Postponing it was making me miserable, and the right time was when I chose it to be. It's something close to my heart right now, but I hope I can share it with you someday. At Mass, the cathedral was full of hundreds of people from all over the world. We had started as strangers, but now we were united by this shared experience. When we all turned to our neighbors, shook hands, and wished each other well, there was so much kindness and love under that glittering gold ceiling that it restored my faith in human connection. That moment meant more to me than witnessing the famous Potafumero, the giant incense casket swinging from the ceiling. I came back home from my adventure a changed person. Not because I had all the answers, but because I had relearned how to keep moving forward, and knowing I had deep inner reserves even when I felt like I had nothing left. I'm not planning to do something like this again for a while, but it hasn't stopped me from taking on other challenges, like fulfilling a lifelong dream of building my own little library at home, with some help from friends. I'll be sure to tell you more about it next time. It's so exciting. Life is a series of great adventures that eventually add up to one grand narrative. Trust that each step you take, no matter how small, will reveal the next, and the next, and the next. So, go on. Choose your next great adventure in life. It needn't look like mine. The main thing is to put one foot in front of the other and let it reveal to you what you really want and what you are really capable of. I'm rooting for you.